Check.
Product placement.
Product placement. Top notch nutrition.
We'll just set this right here in front of the camera.
Use Boom Boom code.
Got to take my nootropic. Shout out to Top Notch Nutrition. Go to topnotchnutrition.com I think it's /discounts/boom boom.
Okay.
But the link is in the show notes of this podcast. So.
All right.
And
so
you guys should be taking vitamin D. I don't know if anybody listening to this likes Rhonda Patrick, which I'm sure a bunch of people do, and listen to the Joe Rogan podcast with her recently. She talked a bunch about vitamin D and its importance for immune strength, which we knew, but it was nice to have a doctor on a platform like that,
talk about it.
Yeah, spreading the message. So I've been pushing a lot of clients to take the vitamin D from Top Notch just because we know it's quality, but in general, just taking enough. I'm taking 10,000 IUs daily. It's fucking bright.
Wow,
yeah. I'm getting vitamin D right now.
Yep. Speak of the devil.
Speak of the devil. But, yeah, like 5,000 is like the higher end of what you're supposed to take. 10,000 is like the maximum, which is still not dangerous, but it's like during a time when your immune system could be potentially compromised, it's smart. There's other things that it helps for too. It's technically a hormone. It gets converted into a steroid hormone in your body, so it helps with testosterone and things like that too. But for immune strength, it's obviously pretty important. And right now, it's a pretty damn good time to take care of your immune system.
Yeah. What file did you send me?
I texted you a doc.
Yeah. I don't have permission.
Oh. I don't know how to.
I just said request access.
Oh, there you go.
What's the doc called?
Art of Coaching.
Imagine that.
Imagine that. Yeah, I didn't get anything.
I'll request access again. Your request for access has been sent.
You should be good. Everything's going to my junk folder lately.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. Even my own my own newsletters are going to my junk.
Yeah, I don't see it. Andrea Rogers? This one?
Yep.
Cool.
Do you ever click like edit, mark all, and then say like mark all as read and stuff like that?
No.
Like if you have a ton of emails and so like my non-work email, I'll get a bunch of spam in there and I'll just click like, you can go edit and then you can select all, mark as read. So I'll do that so I don't have to like sit there and like read them. But I accidentally clicked mark all as spam or junk. So now everything.
Have you ever tried to mark all unspam?
No, I haven't. But if I do that in my spam, then all the things that I do want to be spam are also going to be marked as not spam.
Yeah.
It's a pretty bad predicament.
Yeah.
I'm in a pickle.
That's probably a lot of emails in there.
Yeah, there is.
All right. So Cody wrote a newsletter on Monday, which will probably be
A week
and a couple days ago, about the art of coaching. You put at the end of the newsletter, if anybody had any questions about it, that we're going to do a podcast and you can explain more on it. And this is the time.
Yep.
So cool. And we got quite a few questions that looks like people are interested on learning more about it. So let's get right into it. The first question that somebody asked was from Andrea Rogers. It says, what do you do about clients losing interest and missing check-ins or not filling out their tracker?
I think this one. So like, let's take a step back first too, because
Take your mic away from your phone.
like we gotta. Is that super loud?
Yeah, there you go.
We need to first define. What is the art of coaching?
Yeah.
One of these is mine. And because I think that like first understanding that allows you to almost takes care of the answer to this question, right? So. And I think the art of coaching is different for everybody, but I think the biggest principle to take away from it is that it's an art. Like it's not just science, and I think that's the problem.
Or skill.
Or yeah, exactly, and it's something that you actually have to build over time. Even like it's funny because like if you think of like a bench press, Like technically, if you look at the mechanics of a bench press, it is a skill. You can't just focus on reps and volume and load and expect to enhance that movement, that bench press. You have to learn the mechanics and practice the skill of going through repetitions of the bench press. And the same thing is with coaching. Like there's a lot of research, there's a lot of science. Like right now, the evidence-based movement is pretty big, and I would say I'm part of that because I use research and science to do what we do. But if you just look at research and you only think about what science says, it's hard to practically apply that to people. And I think art of coaching is the creative side. It's kind of like the creative bridge from science to application. Like that's a really good way to explain it because, if you look at a lot of research studies, a lot of them are done on untrained individuals, so sedentary individuals, elderly individuals. So you can get a study about a sedentary 70-year-old who never trains. How is that going to be applicable to me? It's not. It's applicable to 70-year-old sedentary individuals who don't train. Now, there's certain things that we can extrapolate from those research studies that show like, okay, well, it might not be as far on this end, but here's the principle it's given us and we can apply that. Like that makes sense. And there is a lot of that, and that's why I use science. But taking it with a grain of salt is the big key there because not everything applies, right? Even there was a lot of like the whole insulin hypothesis has kind of been debunked. I'm not going to dive into that because that's a rabbit hole, but there was a ton of research showing like the importance of insulin for fat loss. But if you look at the research, they're all like extremely obese individuals. Yeah. So the likelihood of them having insulin resistance is obviously there, which is completely different because somebody like myself doesn't really need to even worry about insulin because I'm lean. My insulin's great. I'm not diabetic, nothing. So there's no point in me worrying about that. If you are diabetic or if you're obese, then you can have that conversation. But people take this like thought process of insulin being important and they start pushing all these low carb diets, intermittent fasting, fasted training, so on and so forth, these certain supplements, and it's getting people to believe that they're like a magic tool, and it's like probably not even helpful, maybe like 0.25%. Like it's not going to do anything. Again, that's another rabbit hole, but the point being is like if we just look at science, it doesn't really give us everything we need to create success in an individual over time, right? Practical application is the big key, and I think art of coaching is that bridge. So art of coaching to me is education, connection, and communication. Yep. And accountability, I would say, because you can be great with program design, and there's an art to program design too. Like I think, a lot of people. I had a question really recently on Instagram that was like, they were really trying to learn how to program and they wanted to learn like how I program, what my thought processes are when I program. And I was like, look, like I can tell you the principles of what science tells us with volume, intensity, frequency, movement patterns, push, pull, hip, knee, core, things like that. But my style of programming is different than anybody else's because it's my style. It comes from years of studying other coaches and working through other programs and learning philosophies and then kind of molding them together into my own. Just like the next coach you go to who has a lot of experience is going to have their own style of programming. Different. Neither of us are right or wrong. It's just this is how I do it, and people who like my style are going to stick with me. So I told them, like, you need to study a bunch of people and then find your own style because that's really that's the art. Yeah. That's the art of coaching, art of programming. Inside of nutrition, it's the same thing. Like you can just continually drop calories or adjust macros downward to enhance the deficit, but that's really just like looking at it from a one-dimensional thing. Like there's a million ways to skin a cat, and dieting is like a multi-dimensional thing, and you need to be able to know when to kind of poke and prod or pull. Because for some people, like again, another question I get is, how long should I? We actually just had this. How long should I wait before adjusting my diet? Right? Like I'm in a deficit and I'm losing, but I stalled. How long should I wait before I adjust my macros again? And it's like, well,
stalled as in plateaued.
Exactly. Okay. Like when should I tweak my macros? It's like, well, for some clients, I wait a week and I'm tweaking. Some clients it's 2, some clients it's 3. I've had clients where we don't make progress for 6 weeks and I'm like, it's not ready. It's not time because your ducks aren't in a row elsewhere, or there's a reason why this isn't working and it has nothing to do with calories, or again, I'm going to help manipulate other aspects to make those calories that you're consuming more effective. And that's the art of coaching, right? Very one-dimensional, low thought process, low empathetic coaching would be, all right, you stalled, let's drop calories, right? Without looking into the food quality without looking into sleep or stress or training or cardio or NEAT or like all the other aspects that can influence meal timing, that can influence the calories you're consuming, right? That's the art of coaching. So I think, again, coming back to the definition of it, I think the art of coaching is it's education, empathy, communication, and connection. I think if I had to boil into multiple things, it's educating the individual to make sure that they understand what they're doing, because that's what builds buy-in. So part of the art of coaching is it's the art of buy-in. And buy-in doesn't mean like, oh, I'm going to get the sale. Buy-in means that you believe me.
Yeah.
You trust my process and what I'm going to give you. If you trust my process, you are going to see better results because it's easier for you to stick to. It's easier for you to follow through with it and take action on it. So that's a huge one. Empathy is understanding where you are at. I've been there. I get it. I've worked with many people that have been there. I know exactly what you are feeling. So I am going to use the science that I know and the experiences I've had to make the adjustments that you need, versus just science without any empathy. Doesn't make sense. Communication is next. Communication is extremely important because if you're not constantly talking to your clients, if you're not kind of in depth with your conversation, and if I had to add a fifth thing of art of coaching, I would write depth. But I think that goes with communication and connection. Is the depth of your communication provides that buy-in, provides that trust, provides that accountability. It provides support, so they know you're there. It provides authenticity, transparency, and realness, so they know that you're not full of shit, you're raw. I think that's super, super important. And the last thing is connection. Like if you can't connect with your clients on a deeper level, that's the biggest thing you need to focus on. So reading motivational interviewing, reading Crucial Conversations, reading the 5 Love Languages, reading all those different books that talk about how do I connect with another individual and meet them where they're at, because everybody translates things different. This is actually something that's been really fascinating to me lately. You and I can look at the same situation and translate it completely differently, right? Like Andrea said this to me the other day. He was like, I could tell you both to write a house or draw a house, and you might draw me a house with a picket fence, with a yard, with a dog. You're drinking coffee on the porch, like it's all detailed. And Shannon might draw me like just a box with a triangle on top. They're both houses. You just interpreted it differently. And I was like, And we kind of dove into this conversation about everybody's interpretations of life, of meaning, of purpose, of excitement, of goals, of outcomes, of what it means to be blank, good, happy, a man, success, whatever. It's different.
Everybody's definition is different too.
100%. So everybody's response to different situations and different communications is different. So if I don't study how people are interpreting things in life, then
how will you understand them?
How will I understand them? And how will I know how to give them information? Because I can come into a conversation now and I go, I know exactly how you're going to interpret this, so I'm not going to say it that way. I need to reword this, right? If I'm just black and white.
Before you even word it in the first place.
100%.
Yeah.
So if I just write everything black and white with the same, like my own bias of how I interpret things, communication is going to be poor. You know what I mean? We've even experienced that with just like projects that we've worked on, being in business together. So I think that last piece of connection is super important. So education, empathy, connection, and communication. And then with all those, I think depth. If you're doing them just to check off the box, like I don't think it's enough. Like I think you need depth. But one thing, like, go ahead.
You're relating that when you say just checking out the box, the first thing that comes to my mind is passion. Because if you're just checking off the box just to check off the box, then you're not doing it because you have a passion for it. You're just doing it for, hell, I guess, like you said a million times, I don't know why you're doing it because you're not doing it for the money. But when you say depth, because of that checkbox comment, I think you also mean passion, because you have to do it for that, because that's a huge aspect of it.
Well, I think I did that actually I did a podcast on this. It was like what makes great coaches great, and it was like 5 E's, and one of them was enthusiasm, and I think that kind of translates into that passion, right? But yeah, I think it's just important, man. Like one thing that like really stood out to me with Brandon, who's one of our newer coaches, when a coach, Brandon Whitehead, when a coach starts, I kind of oversee things just to make sure everything's going well.
When do you not oversee things?
Once they get to a point where, I mean, imagine if I had to overview.
I guess my interpretation and definition right now is different for overseeing, because I'm not saying you're like checking in on if he's doing something okay every single day.
That's
But
what I'm saying.
But
So
at the end of the day, you are
I'm always overseeing
Yeah.
everything. Yeah. And we're having constant I talk to all the coaches every day, and I'm helping them through troubleshoots, but I don't review every email they send a client.
Yep.
At first, the process I do, otherwise I'd be fucking reading thousands of emails.
Yeah.
That's not cool.
Yeah.
But I was like reviewing his, and the amount of depth that guy puts into his conversations is insane.
Good.
Somebody asked him a question about, I think it was zinc, the nutrient zinc. And this dude gave her like literally like a textbook lesson, like the most in-depth answer you could possibly give. He wrote it out, and he explained it, when to take it, how to take it, what, like, here's some places to look, like best brand. Like, it was just so much information just on a question like, hey, is zinc something I should be considering? Well, let me tell you. And like some people were like, well, that's overkill. And it's like, well, it's not, because now that person will never in their life have a question about zinc ever again. They won't.
Absolutely.
And they know exactly where to go if they have another question about another vitamin.
Yeah.
And they feel that education from them. Even if they're like, okay, well, I'm not going to take it, so I'm not going to read this right now because that's a lot. I'm just going to star and like kind of star this email. And when I'm ready, I'll pull it back up.
Yeah.
And they have this like library, a vault of information, whereas most coaches will give quick answers like, nah, you don't need to take it. Oh, okay. Thanks. And I'm still wondering, should I take it? Like, why? Yeah. Like, why is he have anything against it?
Yeah. Elaborate.
So, elaborate. Yeah. So, like, that's huge. And I think that comes with depth, right? Yeah. That's that depth.
Absolutely.
So, shout out to Brandon because he's fucking crushing it right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, he's doing really well.
One thing I wanted to say was back in the beginning of that conversation, you were still talking about make your own style, make your own form. And new coaches, or whether you're a new coach or not, but you go study people, go study material, and then form your own style. So, I mean, I know you've done seminars on the generic form of programming and stuff, but those, and if I might be wrong, but I believe it's the one you did with Lauren Conlin.
Yep.
Yeah. And but even those, you explain what to study, how to study it, what you studied, but not how you type on the keyboard when you program, like what you exactly do. You explain what you went out and did to be able to form your own style, to be able to program the way you do program.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that there's like I could boil it down to like a few things. Like you need to be aware of volume and intensity because that's how hard you're going and how much you're doing. You need that. That determines
there's
your stress.
baselines. Yeah.
There's baselines. There's principles.
Yeah.
I believe in sequencing. So there's an order of operations inside of your programming. There should be a reason why this follows this. You shouldn't be just doing random things. And I think that exercise sequencing carries on into the week because this a lot of people don't think about. They think about isolated workouts. Well, how is today going to affect tomorrow, right? Like everything I do today is in sync with what I do tomorrow and the next day and when I come back to that first workout.
And the program next week.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is progression. Like I don't like using the word progressive overload lately because if I say progressive overload, people are like, oh, I got to add weight to the bar. And it's like, well, no, I mean, you can progress in so many ways. Like I don't want you to always think you need to add weight to the bar or even add reps. Like you can add a pause. You can control your technique better. If you feel like you're progressing or making it more challenging and you are getting better at it, that's progressive overload. But outside of those, like those give you the principles like, hey, you need to be aware of this. And I would add movement patterns too. Push, pull, hip hinge, squat / lunge, and then some kind of brace. Some people will say carry, like a farmer's carry, but I believe you can replace that with really anything for your core. Anti-rotation, like anti-extension, doing like a plank, or you can do anti-lateral rotation, like a single arm carry. Regardless, you're basically, it's bracing your core and resisting movement, right? Yep. But push, pull, hip, knee, core is essentially what that boils down to. But if we look outside of that, that doesn't give you, like I could tell you that and go, okay, go write some programs. And you're like,
what?
I don't know
No,
what to put on the paper. So I think that's where it's like, okay, like I understand these things. Here's my week. Here's how much this person can train. Here's their current injuries or past injuries. Here's what I'm going to put on paper. And then I look at it and I'm like, okay, how is that going to affect this? How should I move this? How should I do this? Like one thing I didn't think about, like when I first started, was posture. I would just do things towards muscle groups. And somebody had to tell me like, hey, how is this going to encourage or worsen good posture? Like, is it going to make their posture worse or better? And I had to look at it and think, and I saw that I had a ton of flexion-based movements. So a ton of squatting, a ton of curls and presses and anything that would round my shoulders. And I had nothing that would retract my shoulders, like very little that would pull me back. That's why the whole push-pull ratio should be at what it is. Very little extension. So I wasn't working the glutes and the hip flexors enough, glutes and hamstrings enough, but I was working the quads and the hip flexors a ton. Because typically when people come to me, they're like, oh, I want bigger quads, I want bigger chest, I want bigger arms. You know, like women will say, I want a bigger butt. So they're like, it's easier to program this for them. But for guys, like we look at the front of our body and we're like, all right, here's what I want to see more of. And they never think like, I want a bigger back, right? I want bigger hamstrings. I do now, but that was a big thing because I'm like, well, fuck, you're right. Everybody I work with is at desk jobs, right? And they're hunched over and they drive to work in traffic and then they type on their computer and then they usually leave the gym and they're like, I don't know what to do, so I'm going to do some sit-ups and I'm going to do some bike. And then I'm going to drive home and then I'm going to watch TV.
Yeah.
It's literally like all day. They're just fucking rounding and rounding and rounding. That's why we see like people with this like hunched over posture. But that was like a aspect of the art of programming. Like I didn't even think of it. I'm just thinking volume and muscles, right? I wasn't thinking movement patterns and posture and alignment and joint health and things like that. So there's a ton to it. But like I think we should probably get into the questions now. And I forget the first one, so you're gonna have to read that one.
I just think at the end of the day, like you said, you can give anybody, especially new coaches, all these principles, all these baselines and everything, but there's so many variations and so many ways to manipulate those correct principles. That's where your own style comes in.
Yeah.
Because say, here's the principles. There's so many combinations and so many variations to do it correctly for each individual that you have to do it your own way. Like, that's just so many combinations.
Yeah, 100%.
All right, cool. I guess we can get into the questions. Again, first one is from Andrea Rogers. What do you do about clients losing interest and missing check-ins or not filling out their tracker?
Yeah, I think, there's a few things that come to mind. Like, one, the first thing you have to always check is, like, what's your system like, right? So, if you're, like, and this is, again, like, to keep it in the realms of art of coaching, part of being a great coach and understanding that art means that you're not just saying, like, oh, okay, so, like, I need to assess data every week. Yeah, of course you do. How are you assessing that data? How are you getting them to assess that data and give you that data? That's where the art of coaching comes into play. So yes, you have the first step down, like you need to assess data, but now you have to look at like, what's your system like? Is your system easy for them to follow?
There you go.
Obviously it's not because they're not doing it. If it's not, then make it easier. Figure out a way that you have reminders, you have accountability, you have an easier form to fill out. Like they can do it on their phone. They do it on a day that works better for them. Like figure out a way that's going to optimize their ability and make it easier to fill out that form. Systems are so unbelievably important for coaching. I think that's one of the reasons why our team is so powerful and is growing is because our systems are flawless and we're able to grow and get our clients to grow because our systems are really well put together. And that's one thing that I think I took too long to develop. Like if I could go back, it would be trying to figure out those systems better. But let's say that your system's great. Everybody else is on point, but this person just doesn't want to. I would first have a conversation about why are they even doing it? Like I think coaches are really afraid to have this conversation because they're afraid of losing a client. If they lose a client, they lose money, they get stressed out. Yeah. And I've been there. I get that. I'm at a place now, and I had to find this place before I was financially secure enough to say, like, it's not going to, break the bank if I lose a client. Like, it's fine. I had to shift before I got to that place. And I think because I shift, I got to that place. And what I mean by that is, like, I put the client first. Like, hey, why are you doing this? Why are you paying me to not follow the protocols? And it's like, well, fuck. And then their first response is like, they're going to fire me, right? But it's like, honestly, like, I want you to get the best results possible. You're not, but not because the plan isn't good. It's because you're not following it. Like, so what's stopping you? Why are you wasting money? Like, why are you wasting time? Why are you wasting energy? Why are you wasting the thought process of feeling like a failure? Because you're not doing it.
Yeah.
Period.
Are they, I don't mean to, like, I just first thought, are they wasting energy? Because
they're not doing shit?
They're not using energy.
Absolutely, because they still have a coach bugging them. They still have it on their mind. I've never
There
met
you go.
anybody that's
There you
like,
go.
I've never had anybody say like that wasn't filling out and respond to me like this. Like, oh, honestly,
I forgot about you.
Yeah, I forgot you were coaching me. Like, that doesn't happen.
True.
They
Yeah.
they see the money leaving their bank. So
Yeah.
it is energy.
Yep.
And I think
Yep.
that like, it's one of those things where you have to be able to have those, again, going back to crucial conversations.
Yeah.
You got to be willing to have those conversations of like, what's your why? Like, what is the point of this? I had this conversation with a guy yesterday, literally saying, hey, like, we have two options. We either get our shit together and we crush this, or we throw in the towel. Like, there's nothing wrong with not going through a cut. You're not overweight. You just want to get really lean, and that's fine. But if it's not matching your lifestyle right now, because we see this cyclical pattern of you falling off every week, like, why would I keep encouraging you to stay in this place? Like, it's not good for you mentally or physically. So in same thing, he wasn't like, man, screw you, I'm out of here. He was like, fuck, you're right. Let me think about this. I think this is what I need to do. And then like we had a conversation of like, all right, here's the path. Here's what you actually want. And we go that route, you know? And sometimes that conversation either ignites people to be like, fuck, you're right, let's get it. And they crush it. Or they're like, you're absolutely right. I don't need to do this right now. And honestly, it doesn't match my lifestyle. I'm stressed. COVID-19's going on. I got a lot of work stuff going on. I have a family. Like, I just need to maintain, and I'll come back to it. And I'm like, cool, I'll help you maintain. Or come back to me when you're ready. Yeah. But I think people are afraid to lose clients by having difficult conversations. But I think that's the big thing is like you have to have a difficult conversation with this client of why aren't you following protocol? I've had that conversation with so many people that I don't really have anybody that doesn't fill out their check-in form anymore because like I literally now granted like I have a really good list of clients. I will say like I love all my clients, but I also think that kind of encourage that pattern, right? Like at the beginning, I'm very real, very authentic, very raw of like, here's my expectations. Tell me yours so I can meet your expectations. This is what you need to do. And that's that. Like, can you agree to that? Can you confirm that with me? And it's like, yes, I can. Cool. Let's get after it. And then just making sure
at the end of the day, verbal agreement is a lot different than doing it.
100%. But you pre-frame it. Yeah. A lot of people will just send you the form and be like, okay, fill this out every week. It's like, okay. I have a conversation from the get-go. Like, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
What makes you think that you're going to stay consistent with it? Like, and make them realize, too, like, hey, I'm going to hold you accountable every week. We're going to talk all the time. But it's still up to you. Like, you are doing the work. I'm not doing it for you. I'm not putting food in your mouth, literally. I'm not lifting the weights for you. But I think having those real conversations is the key here. Like, you have to ask this person, like, why? Why aren't you filling it out? Why aren't you doing what you need to do? Do you really want this? Mm-hmm. Like, what's the purpose of achieving this goal? And then in the most important thing, I think there to really get them to, like, because sometimes that conversation just goes over people's head. They're like, oh, I'm just busy. And they won't, like, open up. The best way to do that is to get them to, like, and sometimes it helps for them to just write in their journal and then share it with you later. But, like, define how will you feel? How will you look at yourself? And what result or, like, where will you be if you achieve this result? So if you lose 20 pounds, what will you see when you look in the mirror? How will you feel when you look in the mirror? How will you feel about yourself every day with your confidence? What will you have if you're that? Like, who will you become? And then the opposite side of this is if you continually do not check in and you don't get any results for the next year, where will you be? How will you feel? How will you look at yourself in the mirror? And that association of like, I'm still in this fucked up place that I don't like, and I have the potential to get here is enough contrast to usually make people shift. Because they're like, I don't want to waste another year and look in the mirror and fucking hate what I see. Period.
Yeah.
It's a deep conversation, but yeah. I think that's what I would have with this person.
You can have that conversation in so many different aspects in life.
100%.
Like, I want this. And I guess I've been told myself, and I've told myself this, but at the end of the day, do the work then. Mm-hmm. Or, I mean, there's no magic pill.
There's no way around just fucking doing the work.
Yeah.
I've had this realization quite a bit with all the Warriors shit I've been doing lately. Yeah. It's like they talk about this impossible game all the time. And like we all have an impossible game in our head. And it's basically like what our mind tries to tell us is impossible. But if you really like kind of analyze and define all the facts around this impossible game, impossible story, you realize that it's very possible.
Yeah.
You're just stopping yourself from getting there. So doing these drills of like finding the impossible game, defining the facts, and seeing that like the potential I have and what I can create and who I can become and what I can do for my family, for my business, for my life is like, it's so empowering because you're like, whoa, like I'm playing small.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
Things are going to turn up. You know what I mean? It's really, really empowering. It's cool.
I mean, I might be taking this way too far, but even like, say you have this huge goal, which AKA you think is impossible. You literally have, and maybe you have 3 or 4 goals that seem impossible, but you have to take one of them, work on it, but break it down to so small to be able to reach that top goal. Break it down so small and start working on that smallest point to where you make it possible.
When I think that's the hardest part for people.
Absolutely.
It's like, okay, I want to get here.
Yeah.
Okay, well, before you get there, you need to get here. And before
And
you
here.
get there, you need to get there. And before you get there, you're going to have to get here. So let's focus on getting here. In order to get here, you need to work on this, 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 and this, which won't directly give you what you want, but eventually it'll lead. And it's like, fuck, that's a lot of places to go.
So in my mind, that's impossible.
Exactly.
But it's not. It's impossible is the wrong word.
Yeah. I think it's
Undesirable.
It's not, I mean, it's maybe, I think doubtful would be, I think the idea of the impossible game makes sense. Like the theory is like, it's so big that you doubt yourself from getting there.
Yeah.
So how do you make that possible? And it's really just understanding your potential. Like, I think that's the biggest thing, like, again, that I've realized in the last, like, really just like couple months of diving into this shit has been like, what is my actual potential? Not only for like, okay, like what can we grow into as tailored coaching method, but what's the potential of what I could teach people through my Instagram? What's the potential of this podcast? What's the potential of my marriage? What's the potential of my relationship with my daughter? What's the potential of my physical fitness? Like, you start really going into every single little category, my family, my friendship, like my sleep, like, and it's like, man, I can literally be better in so many ways. It's crazy. And if you just start working on all those little things, you become this like fucking superhuman. They have this thing where like as you knock out these points, like you're like there's like this blue character and he grows and it's like supercharged and it's dope. It's like fucking becoming that thing. Optimus Prime.
I think it's one of those you have to be there type things.
You definitely got to be there. You definitely got to be there. But yeah, I think that's, I mean, that whole idea, like if
really,
somebody's not doing what you need them to do, you have to have a deep conversation with them.
And have a deep conversation with yourself about your systems.
100%.
All right. We'll move on to the second one. Do you ever get someone to come? Oh, sorry. This is from Andrew Mohagan. Mohagan. I think that N is silent. But anyway, do you ever get someone to come to you reluctantly? They have been told they need your help and they are reluctant or skeptical about what you can do for them. If so, how do you handle these people?
Silent N.
Well, it's Monagan, Monaghan. I think it's Monagan.
Monaghan?
Monaghan? Stump me again.
Yeah, like I don't get this a ton because usually when people apply for coaching, they want to coach.
Yeah, they want to tell you.
But there were times when I was an in-person trainer that would happen because somebody would come in, they're like, hey, like my doctor basically told me that my cholesterol's too high, my blood pressure's too high, I'm pre-diabetic, whatever it is. I need to be here because, they're forcing me basically, right? Like, it's like, I don't like training. I don't want to do this, but I got to be here. I think first is defining, like, why are they there? Because a lot of times, like, so I love science, I love bodybuilding, I love high performance athletes. I love stuff like that. If somebody comes to me and they're like, hey, I'm pre-diabetic, my doctor's making me come, I don't like any of this shit, but I got to do it, I'm not going to give them a super complex program. I'm going to say, hey, like, we're going to make this so fucking simple that you literally can't mess it up. And we're just going to focus on doing it for a long period of time.
There you go.
Keep it super simple because you don't need it to be creative. You don't need it to have like an advanced style of periodization. You don't even need to worry about progressive overload. Are they burning calories and eating real food? You're good. Most of the time, you know what I mean? Like, then you're good. And I think that's like where you have to look at what you're doing and where usually trainers and nutrition coaches' brains first go to complexity. And I think you need to focus on simplicity. Or like we have then that post, consistency over trumps complexity. And that's exactly the point. It's like, what do you need to do to make it consistent? You make it simple. Because complex shit is hard to do consistently. It's a tongue twister.
Yep.
But I think that's the biggest thing is it's really that. And The other thing I would say is it goes back to the education side of the art of coaching, where it's like, okay, their doctor is telling them to do something, or their wife is like, you need to get healthy, like I'm going to hire your trainer, or whatever it may be. They don't want to be there. You have to educate them on why they need to be there. So you need to do one of two things. A, make them understand the severity, which is easier sometimes from you than it is from their significant other, for example. My wife tells me something goes in one ear, out the other. Somebody else tells me the same thing. I'm like, that's a great fucking idea. It's like, I just said that. And that's just natural. I mean, everybody does that, you know? So I think that's one thing is like, how can you help them understand the severity of what they're going through or where they're at? Maybe explain that whole quote unquote impossible game. Like, what's their potential? Like, hey, like I want you to like literally imagine what it would be like if you did lose 30 pounds and get rid of that beer gut and you started seeing abs like you did in college, and you bring up history and experiences. Now all of a sudden they're imagining. If you can paint visual pictures, people will buy in so much better. And then that way it's not like I'm here because I need to make my wife happy, or I need to not be like get diabetes eventually because I'm pre-diabetic, or I need to get my blood pressure down. It's like I'm here because I'm going to become an athlete again. Right? Like I'm going to look like I did in college. I'm going to have that confidence again. Associated with something that actually fucking matters to them, because obviously the health thing doesn't matter to them. Yeah, and I think like this is kind of a weird analogy, but like if we look at like chewing tobacco or smoking cigarettes, if you tell people like, hey, that's bad for your gums, they're probably not going to quit. They're like, duh, I know that. But if their significant other's like, I'm not going to kiss you until you stop chewing, they'll stop chewing, I guarantee, because that matters to them, right? Like the health thing, it's like, yeah, that sucks, but whatever, which is crazy. Because like your jaw's gonna fall off, but okay.
I'm good.
and Grant, like I used to chew, like so I get it. But I had a girlfriend that told me like, yo, I'm not gonna kiss you until you stop, and I was like, all right, I'm done. Like that.
I lost my job.
Fuck, CJ throws a dip in while we're training.
Oh yeah.
Dude, I literally sometimes I look at him, I'm like, bro, how do you do that? I would throw up all over the barbell.
Yeah.
And he guts it. He doesn't spit.
Oh,
I'm just like, bro, that's so bad. Ugh.
Yeah,
he's a man. I couldn't do that. But so I think educating them on that stuff, I think kind of tying in past experiences, things that like they actually want to see. So giving them a different reason to achieve the goal instead of the one that they're there for, which is already creating that sense of being reluctant. And I think like trying to make it fun or interesting is probably the best way to go.
Making them comfortable too.
Yeah, making them comfortable, make it fun, make it interesting, make it exciting. Like it shouldn't be like boring and complex and over their head, because that's not what they're into. Some clients, they love the science and make it super complex because they actually do better because they get excited about it.
They're interested in that.
Yeah, so I think that's really what it comes down to. Yeah, I don't think I can add anything to that.
Oh, I'm sure you could.
I feel like I had another point. But I can't think of it now.
All right, so
we're
going to the next question. This is from Rachel G. You know, I really, really appreciate Rachel.
Love these simple names.
Yeah, last name is G. Thank you.
Is it actually like?
I mean,
is it just a letter G? Oh, okay. Yeah. I just copied their name from their email.
I like your email.
I thought you meant it was like GEE or something.
No. What is your process through convincing someone, specifically a woman, they need to go through a reverse diet before cutting?
Education, empathy, connection, communication. Literally, like it's perfect for those. First, connect to the individual.
But expand on those.
But expand on all those with depth. Connect with the individual to a point where they trust you. You have a good relationship. You guys can talk. You can be authentic. You can be real. So they know that. Be empathetic inside of that connection and communication, which should be frequent. So you've been there. You have clients who've been there. You know what they're going through. You totally understand. Me and Caroline were talking about this when we were taking Brandon through the internship process. We call it a shit sandwich. And the shit is in the middle of the sandwich, literally. So the buns are basically like compliments. So praise you, compliment you, like give you good feedback. What's the shit that you need to fix? Give them the compliment again. Finish and end with a compliment. Put the shit in the middle. Because the shit has to be there.
There's always something to work on.
There's always something to work on. You can't get away from it. So I think like taking that approach is going to be really helpful too. And that goes back to being empathetic, communicating properly, connecting with the individual, and then educating them. Like I've never had, I mean, don't get me wrong, I get people that fight back on it all the time. And I get
you just hit them with the science
over and over again.
Yeah.
Because I get people that will repeatedly fight me on it. Like it's like, hey, like I know you already explained this to me, but tell me again, why are we doing this? Why can't we just start a cut now? Why? And it's just like, okay, like blah 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 blah. And I just go in depth with it, like and I never make them feel stupid for that. Like I never make them feel like they shouldn't be asking me that, because I'm like, look, I get it. Like I've been there, and it's true. Empathy, and it's like it's not easy, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. But let me try to help you understand it, and then I articulate it in a different way.
Yeah.
I will have that conversation every fucking week for 16 weeks if I need to.
It's different to continuously to be curious.
Yeah.
And to want to understand it, because I continuously don't understand it, than to continuously argue.
Yeah.
Like, say, no, you're wrong. This is what. Maybe I'm completely misinterpreting, but that's where you say to them, why are you paying me?
Yeah, 100%. So I think
being curious and then thinking you're wrong.
I think there are times where people argue you on it, especially at the beginning.
Yeah.
But if you use science, they can never say you're wrong. Because it's science.
Well, we can.
I mean, but it has no validity to
correct.
it. So, like, it's very rare to happen.
That's why I mean, and maybe it doesn't happen very often, but I'm saying when that happens continuously, you're like,
why are you paying me? Yeah,
why
exactly.
Are you doing this?
100%. Yeah. If you don't believe it, if you don't think it's right, like, why are you working with me?
Yeah. Who's going to tell you?
Different. No, nobody. Unless you find a shitty coach that just wants to take your money.
That's what,
which is becoming less and less common because, I mean, with social media and the internet, people can just put people on blast now. So it's like you can't do that shit to people. But yeah, I think that, I mean, it comes down to like being ready to talk them off the ledge and educate them on a weekly basis if you need to, and never making them feel belittled because of it.
Yeah.
Like letting them know you understand what they're going through is not easy, but they're doing the right thing. And here's why. Like, this is where it's going to get us. And I think one of the biggest things is not just explaining like, oh, if you diet too long, your hormones will, downregulate. Like, explain to them like how if they reverse, if they get their calories up, if they maintain for a while, how much easier the next cut will be. So one of the things I try to explain to people a lot is like not only like, okay, here's the science behind your metabolism, but here's my experience. And my experience is that like, yeah, we could put you in a deficit right now, but it's going to be more miserable because we're going to have to go lower in calories, and it's far less likely to actually work. Mm-hmm. Like, we're probably going to put you in deficit and nothing's going to happen because your body's so stressed out. Or we can reverse you, maintain for a while. Yeah, you're going to have to wait longer. But when we come back to the diet and we put you in deficit, when you're in that better place, after we've kind of primed your body, quote unquote, you are going to respond so much better to the diet. It's going to be a much easier time.
Yeah. We're
going to have to spend less time, less energy. We'll probably have to pull less calories, and it's going to work much better.
Yeah. I love that, like, back to, like, the first question, or when we were talking about the art of programming and stuff, like how you do it with your own style and stuff. But, like, you have this blueprint or this image of data from this individual client, and you say this is what when you're explaining to them, you're explaining the science with their data.
Yeah.
Saying this is what we're gonna have to do. This is why it's gonna affect your metabolism because this is your data, and telling them why it's gonna happen to them.
Yeah, I have a client that we're putting through a cut right now, and it was the same thing. She's like, getting ready in a couple weeks to start this cut. Like, what's your plan? And I'm like, well, based on what we've seen over the course of 6 months, here's what I'm thinking. Here's how I notice your body responds. Here's probably how big of a cut we need to take. Here's how many days I think we need before we take a diet break. Like,
if we do this is probably going to happen.
Exactly. If this changes, then we'll switch to that. Like, and it's just like boom, 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 black and white, like written out, because they understand everything's subject to change, but that creates clarity and an easier vision to follow.
Absolutely.
So,
love it, man. Tailored. That's just what came to my mind after talking about that.
Oh, yeah. I thought that was like the person's name. I was like, what?
Completely tailored.
That's right.
All right, we got
I love the word tailored.
Yeah.
I literally, me and Shannon were talking. I was like, so Andreas won't hear this before I see him because I'm going to see him this weekend. He's helping me do some like backsplash in our kitchen. But we got him a bottle of like really nice whiskey. And I was like, oh, we should have got some of those whiskey glasses that you got me that have McBroom on it. We put La Tribu. And she's like, that's just too much La Tribu stuff. Like, he doesn't want that much stuff. I was like, no, you could literally put tailored on everything and I would wear it.
Yep.
I will wear it.
Yeah. I will.
Shannon got me a sick fucking dad hat with tailored coaching method on the front. And it came, and she was all excited, and they literally messed up the logo to where it literally just says in small print coaching method.
Oh, no.
The tailored is gone, and she's like, it's like half, like the biggest portion of the logo is just removed. So they sent us a new one, but like she was like, she was like, I'm only giving this to you because I want you to make sure it fits before I have them actually send another one, and it fits great. But I was like, that's funny. I feel bad for her, man. That happened to her. She sent her best friend a 30th birthday gift in the mail. She lives in Austin, Texas.
Yeah.
FedEx lost the package. We ordered Blakely a big like playground thing for our backyard from Costco, and it got like something happened to the shipment, and they had to like put it on delay because it had to go back to the factory. They had to redo it. So basically, by the time we get it, quarantine's gonna be over.
You still haven't got it.
Still haven't got it.
I thought they canceled it. Oh.
Yeah, and then we ordered Blakely like new little like swimsuits because it's been so hot. We've been going to the backyard with her. All those got on back order, so those are like still not here, and we ordered them 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Everything Shannon clicks purchase on is like, no, you're not gonna get it for a while. I feel so bad for her.
Damn.
But
I mean, it's kind of a bad time to be ordering things, also. But
everybody's ordering shit.
Yeah.
It's like the most likely time for things to get messed up in transit.
Yeah. All right. Let's see here. We got a 1, 2.
2 questions?
Dude, it looks like 4. She numbered 2, but there's 4 paragraphs. All right. We'll just here we go.
Did I miss putting their name?
I don't know. We're good. Moe 4.
Oh, this is a dude.
Sour. Moe or
Moe.
Moe?
Moe's a guy from Australia.
Nice. All right, so we're going to just go with the first part. I would love to learn what would be your take on hiring someone as a coach. Clearly, you have done this numerous times now, but when you first starting out, what made you hire someone and how did you do it? Good question.
So, speaking of which, I'm just going to shout this out on the podcast because I've had a couple interviews at this point, and because I have a couple interviews today. And by the time this podcast comes out, I may or may not have chosen them. We are looking to bring somebody on. So if you're listening to this, and I'm going to be very, very specific with this. So this is a good example, Moe, of like how I go about it. Usually we don't even do it like this. Usually we look internally. We look through our clients. We look through like people we have association with, which we're already doing. I'm in touch with some of the people who organize and run the education departments at Precision Nutrition, as well as Dr. Bill Campbell. I reached out to Dr. Jose Antonio. Brandon Roberts, RCSO, he's getting me in touch with people. So I'm already kind of like using my connections to get the best of the best on the phone. But there's always, I wasn't one of those people that knew research and stuff. So I always put this out there. But
prove yourself.
We are looking for somebody. Requirements are very simple. You need to already have experience nutrition coaching. You need to already be certified in nutrition coaching. You need to be ready to get further certification and education in training and nutrition coaching because we're constantly pursuing education with all of our coaches. And you need to be ready to like work full time. Like it's our coaches are coaches, 100% full time. Like that's all we do. And we are looking for an intern right now. So this means that you will work for 3 months unpaid, learning from us, shadowing us, working with us. But this is not something, and we have another question that pertains to this a little bit on this podcast that's coming up, but this is not a spend 3 months with us and learn from us thing. This is like spend 3 months with us to learn and become a coach with tailored coaching method. And I want to make that clear because there's a lot of companies that do internships that are strictly for like, they're usually at gyms, but it's essentially like, hey, you come on board, you do some like random stuff, right? Like I remember when we at the gym, we, taking out the trash, you're cleaning the bathroom, you're cleaning the gym, you're wiping things down, you're tidying up this and that, you're running the charity like event, collecting dollars at the beginning. But because of that, we're going to let you shadow, we're going to teach you, you're going to train with us. And it's kind of like a barter, you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And that's a great way to learn. But for us, we're specifically looking to bring somebody on as an intern who will later become a coach. And we're pretty specific about who we hire. It's like, we have to live up to our name and our reputation. It's extremely peculiar.
Don't downplay that.
So if you have that experience, those credentials, and you are ready to and you match our philosophy, like you are tailored coaching, literally, shoot me an email, Cody at tailoredcoachingmethod.com. Send me your resume, and I will be happy to check it out and follow up with everybody who does respond, and I'll be picking a couple people to get on the phone with. But that being said, that's kind of how I go about it now. But at first, I always looked internally. So the best way to find a coach, in my opinion, is to first look at your clients. Usually you have a client who either A, started out like, this stuff is cool, and now they're like overly passionate and obsessed with it. I have a couple clients that of mine who are not trainers, but I have a feeling that there's somebody that I could see like having a career change because they're so into this shit now. Those are great people to be like, hey, like, let me start teaching you stuff and giving you education and buying you books and stuff and build you up into this coach if you have that time. If you
desire.
Yeah, and desire. Yeah, exactly. And that's something it's like, hey, like I don't need to bring a coach on board realistically for another 6 months. So I'm going to take this person on now and coach them and teach them and mentor them. For people who are like, I don't have 6 months to wait. Like I'm busy, I'm burnt out. I need coaches on my team and to grow. I believe that you've already waited too long. You should always have some kind of internship or training process. Because by the time a coach works with a client on our team, everything's flawless. They already understand the systems. They have tons of experience. They've already worked with us and beta clients and fake case study clients. Like they've done so much work that it's seamless, and people don't even know like, oh, there's a new coach. Like they have no idea because they're well equipped and well experienced. And obviously, again, like we're all overseeing each other constantly too, so we work as a unit. But I think like you have to be ready to give somebody that kind of mentoring to get them on page and be like parallel with your brand and your philosophy and your methods. But I would look internally, man. Like look at your clients, look for the people that are passionate. If you train any coaches or trainers or anything like that, or if you have clients who know people or you have associations with people, like if you're good friends with other coaches in the industry, ask them. Like, I've done that plenty of times where I'm like, hey, like, do you have anybody that has tried to join your team that you couldn't bring on because you weren't ready to bring on a person? Or do you know anybody that went through, like I know people that run mentorships and stuff like that. Hey, do you have anybody on your mentorship roster that would be good for this fit? And I pull together all these names and then I go from there. And I want to say Courtney, who was the first coach that worked for us, no longer with us, but we're still in touch. And she helps me now and then. I want to say she was a client too. And I think she got introduced to me and basically said, like, I want to, like, join a team, so I'm going to hire you kind of thing. So I did her stuff. It went really well, and then we had a conversation. Then I started training her to become a coach, and then she became a coach. Caroline, same thing. Lisa was a client of Courtney's way back, and she was also a nutrition coach while working with the police department in New Zealand. And the people she coached with, I knew really well, and they were kind of closing up shop. They were moving on and doing something different with their business, and they weren't going to be doing nutrition coaching anymore. So they reached out to me and were like, hey, we have this girl on our team. She's amazing, but we're not doing this anymore, and I thought she'd be good fit for your team if you're looking. I was like, oh, I'll get on the phone with her. And I was like, oh, Lisa, you used to work with Courtney. Unbelievable coach.
Yeah. So
thankful we got that connection because now she's on the team and she's fucking crushes it. Haley was a client of mine for a long time, at least 6 months, but a good amount of time before we started chatting about coming on board as a coach. Brandon has been a client of mine for 2 years, and I've watched him go through my mentorship, Travis Dipper's mentorship, many certifications. He's been at my seminars. I announced him working with us at one of the seminars.
Competing.
Yeah, so I've seen him over the years. Adam was a client of mine for over a year. So basically everybody has been kind of internal. The only person that hasn't been internal completely was Caroline. But she came to me and was like, what do I have to do to like work with you, like be on your team? And I was like, oh, like you can become a mentor client, like let me just teach you like my philosophies, and if by the end of it it's a good fit, then you can come on board. So she hired me as a mentor.
Great decision.
Yeah. Another one that was awesome. An amazing coach.
I might have missed this. I'm sorry, but was Brandon Roberts completely internal?
No, Brandon Roberts. So I had reached out to a handful of people I knew in the industry to connect me with a researcher because I wanted a CSO on the team. And I ended up asking Eric Trexler.
Okay.
It was literally on one of like my update forms for my like training and nutrition to him. I was like, hey, like random question. Do you have anybody that comes to mind when you think of like a CSO for my team? And he was like, yeah, you should hit up Brandon Roberts. I don't think he does that for anybody yet, and he's unbelievable. And I was like, okay, I'll look into it. And then I like looked him up, and I was like, oh, I've heard this guy on multiple podcasts. And then we connected the dots. And at first, Brandon was like, yeah, like I like the idea of it, man. Like that's something I definitely want to do. I want to go into the coaches route and educating coaches. Let me sleep on it. Let me do my homework on you and blah, blah. And then like 2 days later, he hit me up. He's like, I'm 100% down. Because like he hadn't heard of me before. And then,
really,
which doesn't surprise me. I mean, he's in science. He's in the lab. You know what I mean? And I think honestly, like our brand is still relatively new. I think people are like, man, you've been doing this forever. It's like, we're young.
Yeah.
Like we tailored coaching is less than a year.
Yeah.
Boom Boom Performance is like realistically like live and running hard for like 3.5, 4 years maybe.
Yeah.
So like it's still pretty young. So I think we're just starting to like kind of like be the tip of the iceberg, like poking out of the water, you know.
Yeah, if that.
Starting to show our face. Exactly. Yeah.
I think about that also. Just a side comment. Everybody that is extremely successful, you always, unless you like win the lotto or some shit like that. But I'm just saying, like everybody that's extremely successful with their business, they're always saying, "I've been doing this for 10 plus years.
Yep.
I've been doing this for 15, 20 years."
Yep. It's a white belt mentality.
Yeah.
Like you're never a black belt. You're always learning.
Yeah.
You're always growing.
Touche.
White belt mentality. I can't remember who I heard say that, and I loved it. But yeah, I think that's and so like he looked us up and was like, I like what I see. Like I'm down. Let's do it. And now he's obviously full time with us. So really really cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the best way, like for at the beginning, like look internally, because the people internally are going to be the people who already trust and believe in your system. They already mesh well with you. If you have a client that's been coaching with you for a year, obviously you guys get along really well and they believe in you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they're willing to invest in your company. That was like at first, like you had to pay to do an internship with me. It was like, you're going to pay for my time and I'm going to educate the hell out of you. And we're going to talk every week. You can text me anytime. I'm going to give you tons of books to read and we're going to study. But you're going to invest in this, because realistically, it wasn't like I want to make money. It was like, I want to make sure that you're willing to invest in this company. Like you're going to get all that back and then some.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that if you're not willing to invest out the gates, then it doesn't mean that much to you.
Yep.
And for people listening, we've turned down lots of people, not only from like, I've turned out a lot of resumes, and I don't say that to like impress anybody, but to impress upon people. Like we're really serious, and I'm always nice to them. I'm like, hey, it's just, I don't know if it's the best fit or like it's not the right time. We're very specific with who we want on our team, and we've also taken people through the internship and not brought them on, and that's why we keep the internship very closed doors, because I don't want to like announce that we're having an intern and then they're like, oh, what happened to so and so? It's like, oh, they weren't a good fit.
Yep.
So
that's respectful for the intern too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that being said, I mean, I think that's what I would look internal, Moe.
I have one more question. When you were talking about you really should have some type of internship program or something, you mentioned that there's some people have reasons to not bringing somebody on your team because they're like, I need it now. I don't have time for a 6-month internship or something. My question is what are those reasons on why they would say, oh, I don't have time, I need it now? But B, going on that first question, why would they not have that time when however long they've been doing this, they've had that time?
Yeah.
You know, what's making the difference?
Procrastination. It's really, that's
but
all.
Why would they need it now? What is it that you have to do? In my opinion, they're bringing somebody else on the team to grow.
Yeah.
So why not be stagnant for 6 more months to
make it right,
nurture, and make sure something's right?
I agree. I think it's just a hard decision for people to make. It's like, okay, do I slow down my growth so I can train this person?
Yes.
The answer is yes, because long term, your growth will be much more powerful.
Yes.
The quality will be higher. But I think for a lot of people, that's hard. It's like, I could keep making more money and doing more things and building my reach. It's like, no, start a wait list. Like, that's a powerful thing in itself. Train the person.
So many more headaches just jumping into it.
100%.
Irrational.
I mean, I got to a point where, like, when I hired Courtney, I was like, oh, like I needed you, because I was like, I'm burnt out.
Yeah.
Like I took on too much, and the clients didn't suffer. my personal life suffered. It wasn't like, I don't have time to do this work. It's like, I don't have time to be a person.
Yeah.
So I'm just working all the time. And I think that's, I mean, to be honest, I think that's also a lesson most entrepreneurs need to face at some point, because I think you need to understand what real grit and grind is to really, I mean, just have hard work ethic. I mean, just to be able to go and get it and build. I think it just puts so much heart into what you do. But I know Moe had a second question as well, and we have like one more after that, I think.
So second question is, as a coach, how do you deal with losing a client? I'll be extremely honest here. A client of mine left yesterday. In a way, I wasn't upset, as her response was that she feels like it was simply time for her to move on and train on her own. She was extremely thankful for my support over the year, and has now gained an astonishing amount of confidence to train on her own. As a coach, I feel like I have done my job. I have given her tools to train and to be automized. The question is, would you say this is the goal of being a good coach?
No.
Don't answer.
I think so. Yes. I mean, and I think this was something I had to learn too, because as you grow as a company, you see more people leaving.
Yeah.
But it's also because there's more people there. Like, and I think that was hard for me at first, because, at first I lose a client or two in a month, and I'm like panicking. I'm like, fuck, what did I do wrong? First of all, it has nothing to do with you. Second of all, if they get to a point where they're like, I think I can sustain this by myself, then you literally did your job to its best possible ability, and that person will refer you for the rest of their life. So wipe your hands, be thankful, give them an exit strategy, and move on. Like, it's honestly like it's one of those things. It's bittersweet, because that's what we're trying to create. We're trying to create that autonomy in people, but it's bittersweet because then they're no longer with us. And as we grew as a company, we started seeing more and more people leaving every month. And it was like, fuck, are we doing something wrong? It's like, oh, wait, no. We have more and more and more people we are working with. And every single month, we're sending I'm not going to tell people what's inside, but we send a gift box to our 1-year clients. Like, when you hit a year, we send something for their 6 months. Like, every month, Tori's like, all right, here's the box I'm sending out. Here's the shirts I'm sending out. Here's this. And I'm just like, fuck, that's crazy. Yeah. People are ticking the box of like 6 months, year, 12 months. Like, that's crazy. So of course people, they're 8 months in, they're like, hey, I got my result. I reverse dieted out of it. I'm maintaining. I feel amazing. I think I'm going to go try this on my own. Yeah. I'm like, fuck yeah, go do it. Yeah. It's exactly why you paid me.
Without any hesitancy.
Not at all.
That's awesome.
The only time I have hesitancy is when I'm like, you're not ready.
Yeah.
Because we're not done yet.
As the coach.
100%. Yeah. And I'll be honest with them. I'm like, hey, and those are the people I'll fight for. I'm like, hey, what else is causing you to want to stop? Because usually there's another level of doubt or insecurity, or there's something in their life that's pulling them away from it. And I have to dig into that of like, what's actually going on that's causing you to want to make this decision, besides just being able to do it on your own. Because I don't think that's it. And I'll just have that real conversation with them. But yeah, I think that's the goal at the end of the day.
Yep. All right, last one is, do you have any advice on how to get started as a coach? Reading and studying without actual experience isn't going to get me very far. I'd be more than happy to train clients for free for a while, but I don't think doing it on my own is the smartest idea. I prefer to work with a team that I can learn the ropes from and share my experiences with.
So I think this is where you should probably hire a mentor, or find a company who runs internship programs that don't require you to become a coach eventually. And if you do become a coach at the end of it, fucking great.
Yeah, if it works.
Like, this wouldn't be a good fit for what we're doing right now, unfortunately. And she's actually one of our clients. She works with Caroline, I believe.
I thought you said Moe was a
client.
Dude.
Moe is a dude. This is from Juhi. Did I not put her name? Yeah, right there.
No, that's that question right there.
Yeah, that was the last one we did. Oh, look at the bottom one. I pasted it twice. Oh. Same question. Oh. So this one's from Juhi, but Juhi's a client of Caroline's. And you might want to find a company that is doing an internship without, like, you have to become a coach afterwards. Like, there's a lot of companies that literally just do routine. Like, every quarter they bring on 3 interns. They take them through an education program. Sometimes you have to pay for it. and you're done.
Help 'em out.
I mean, if you want, like I know multiple people who do mentorship programs, and this is something like we're in the works of creating for coaches as well. That'll be very limited, where we take on like 10 people, we take them through like a literal course of education with myself, Caroline, and Dr. Brandon Roberts. So like things like that are in the future. That's what you want to look for. And then what I would do is two things. One, start doing like a certification, and then tell people, hey, I'm doing this certification. I need a guinea pig. I need somebody to test these strategies and methods on. And I'm going to literally drop my price of coaching by 95%, which means that I'm literally going to charge you $20 a month. And people are going to be like, holy shit, that's cheap. And it's like, I'm not doing it for money. I'm doing it because studies show you are more likely to actually do the work if you pay something. Even if they pay $1, they're more likely to do it than if they didn't. Subconsciously, your mind is more accountable to it.
Yeah.
As crazy as that sounds, but so I would do that because I think that's a really good way to go about it, and that's why like NCI is cool. You have to get guinea pigs in order to pass NCI's certification course. So with them, it's easy because you're like, hey, like I literally can't pass this unless I find guinea pigs. Are you interested? And usually people can find a handful of people.
Yeah.
So go ask for guinea pigs. If you have friends or family, you can do that. I always try to find friends or family who know people, because when you don't know the person, it's easier to coach them, because if it's your homeboy or it's your girlfriend, like it's tough.
Yep.
So I would probably try to find somebody else and find some guinea pigs, or find some kind of internship program that allows you to test on people. I mean, I found plenty of people to train for free. I talked about on the podcast the other day, like I used to have them write a check. It was like 8-week transformation, quote unquote. Write a check for $400, sign it, don't date it. If you do everything that's required in the 8 weeks, you stay accountable, we get to like, you don't have to get to your dead set goal, but we make progress because you're doing the work and we're staying in touch, and you go through progress, I'll rip the check up. If you ghost me, I'm going to date it and cash out, period. That's a crazy amount of accountability.
Yeah.
And that works really well. So I would do that, find some people like that. And if you can find an internship program that is as that way that I explained, I think that's probably the best route to go.
Yeah.
Because that gives you more hands-on experience shadowing people.
For sure. Depends on how much that $400 is worth to them.
Yeah. I mean, you can scale that depending on the person,
Definitely.
I know, like, I was talking to Jordan Duggar about this the other day. He has, I don't know if it's one of his business coaches or somebody he read about, but basically, like, so for you, if I wanted to hold you accountable to something, I would say, okay, like, what are 2 things you, like, hate with a passion? We're going to write a check for those organizations. So, like, for this guy, it was like, he's, like, very much so about equal rights. So he, like, literally wrote checks out to, like, I think it was, he said, like, I think the theory was KKK and something else, like, very bad, like, and it was basically like, if you don't do the work, these checks are going to these organizations. And it's, like, something that, like, because this guy was, like, basically, like, I don't care about money. Like, I have plenty. It's not going to, like, hold me accountable, whatever, because he's already wasting money. It's like, okay, well, let's tie that money to something that you really don't want to go to.
Yeah.
And there's ways that you could spin that so you're not, like,
Wow.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean,
Just a little bit of extra drive.
a little bit extra. Yeah, that's it. And then there's a lot of ways to find free people to work with.
Yeah. Nice.
Dope.